Quite a few updates for you today on Karmelo Anthony. First and foremost, another local reporter comments on the tape that purported to show the conflict between Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. We're going to listen to him. Also, Karmelo Anthony's handler or representation is having a total meltdown that it's now been leaked that, at least according to reports, all of the $500,000 is gone. This is not looking good for Karmelo Anthony, who is now just 2 weeks away from his first court appearance. I'm working on a much deeper dive for Karmelo, which I think will come out next week, that will put this all together, that I hope you guys will all like. But let's get into this first. Here we have News Nation reporter who viewed the video of Karmelo Anthony and his incident with Austin Metcalf, says there was no obvious physical altercation. Here's the brand new video.
They allowed me to view this video under strict conditions. I couldn't record anything. I couldn't take pictures. I could take notes, but that's about it. They would play it one time, and they wouldn't even rewind it or play it again, even the moment in question. So what's
interesting is, why do that? Why have all this secrecy around the tape? Why not just let reporters break it down and tell us what they see, especially local reporters? No one else is covering this. Well, I am, and Sarah Fields is. And I hope that you'll follow both of us and tell Sarah that I sent you and said that she's doing great work.
Saw in the video was ultimately, it's from the press box across the field on the 45-yard line. You can view a yellow tent across the field. That's where this incident happened. There's no sound on the video, and it's raining. And you can see about 30 to 40 people around the field. It's a track meet that morning, so they're preparing for this track meet. The incident in question happens at 9:44 a.m. It's really calm up until that point, and then chaos ensues, and you can't really make up anybody. You can't make out individuals. You can see people and colors and what they're wearing, but you can't make out identities. But again, at 9:44, chaos ensues. What I did not see was any obvious physical altercation leading up to the stabbing.
That is the most important takeaway from the video. Allegedly, there was shoving, they were in each other's faces, all this kind of stuff. So again, now maybe the footage is so grainy, it's just too difficult to tell, but this is what everybody has been reporting.
I went inside the stadium earlier this morning to try and give our viewers a better vantage point of where this all happened. Take a look. Across the field, you can see where the press box cameras captured everything. We're on the 45-yard line here. This is where it ultimately happened. There's a tent right up.
So you can see that's a long walk. And it's probably it's probably not an 8K camera that you can, get super zoomed in and still have a lot of fidelity.
Here, the kind of the sports tent where everybody was huddled at 9:44. Whatever went down happened right here. Everybody kind of took off. Now, according to police reports, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony were here at this track meet. Austin Metcalf told Anthony he needed to move out from under their team's tent when Anthony grabbed his bag, reached inside, and told Austin, quote, "Touch me and see what happens."
It sounds like Karmelo Anthony obviously escalated this based on all available information for no reason. Just leave, dude. Just leave. What were you even doing there? The actual rules of the school state that no students from other schools can be under a different school can be under their school's tent. Basically, so if stuff goes missing or whatever the case may be, it's a short list of people who have access to those tents. Karmelo was never supposed to be in that tent. I suspect that Karmelo went there looking for a confrontation. I suspect that we're going to find out that him and Austin Metcalf had some sort of beef over a girl or something else stupid like high school.
Police report states Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move. Anthony pulled out a knife, stabbed Metcalf once in the chest, and ran. Metcalf died in his twin.
Obviously bonkers. Then Judge Joe Brown actually weighed in on it yesterday. Judge Joe Brown is calling Karmelo Anthony a punk days after the 18-year-old was indicted for his crime. Brown, the former Memphis prosecutor and TV courtroom host, had previously defended Anthony when he was first arrested, arguing that his $1 million bond was excessive and legally unjustified. But after the grand jury indictment for the first-degree crime, details of the video incident were reported on by local media. Judge Joe Brown reversed course during an appearance on This Week of Kwame Brown's Bust Life podcast. Kwame Brown, probably the most famous bust in NBA history. What I don't get is this punk move of having to stab someone because they might get his butt beat, Brown said. Why did he have to take his life? That's a punk play. That's part of this thing, emasculating the country when you don't like to fight like a man. Brown called charges against Anthony appropriate, noting that the team captain, the teenager should have been able to handle a confrontation without using lethal force. Of course, he got backlash immediately from the black community because everything's about, race to them. Pandering to the white folks as usual, one commenter said. Anthony was indicted on June 24th by Collin County Grand Jury. It's the law, unfortunately. Jeff Metcalf's father said when he's interviewed. Critics accuse the judge of going easy on Anthony, citing race and political reasons. Yeah, obviously, the judge did go easy. Judge Joe Brown, flip-flopping his opinion. But now let's get to the absolute mentee B, as the kids say, or meltdown, as I might say, of Dominique Alexander after the reports of him being broke came out. Now, first and foremost, I want you to be aware this is a holiday week, but it could be later today. It could be for my normal kind of 2:00 Eastern time slot. There's about 70 emails that are about to be released. Obviously, I'm sure that Karmelo's legal defense team is upset about this. 70 copies of emails in response to an open records request. This is from Frisco ISD. What are we going to see in there? Are we going to see that there is a history between these two boys? Are we going to see, that there was fights? We're going to see all sorts of uncensored comments or information about Karmelo Anthony coming from the school that's going to shed a lot of light on this stuff. Very, very interesting. On top of that, we have Dominique Alexander having a meltdown. Stop spreading lies. Let's set the record straight. The amount of wild and false information being spread across social media is completely out of control. Karmelo Anthony did not submit a request for a court-appointed attorney. This is a flat-out lie. Incorrect. We're going to disprove that in a second. When a case is indicted in Collin County, the court system automatically generates an indigent defense form. This happens for everyone, is also a lie. Regardless of whether they already have a private attorney, it's a standard system process. Attorney Mike Howard remains in constant communication with Collin County District Attorney's Office and still actively on the case. We don't know who started this ridiculous rumor, but it's clear, quote, right-wing journalists and social media influencers are intentionally spreading lies to confuse the public, create chaos, and attack the family. Now, I don't consider myself a right-wing journalist. I just try to come at this fairly, even when, the report came out about them buying an Escalade or this, that, and the other thing. I was here to say, hey, maybe they had it before. I've tried to remain, unbiased in this and try to provide, reasonable explanations for things. We are not litigating this case on social media. We're not responding to every video or post. We're not going to play into their trap. I don't know who that is. This case will be tried in the court of law, not in public opinion, blah, 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 blah. So he puts a picture of himself up because that's what it's all about. Now, interesting, requesting an attorney. Seems the reports are actually accurate and you just lied to a bunch of people. That's from the rules. A defense attorney is not automatically assigned. You'll need to ask the court to appoint one for you. You'll need to fill out a written application and show evidence that you cannot afford to pay for a lawyer. It's recommended that you ask for a court-appointed lawyer as soon as possible. You can ask for an application from the magistrate, jailer, court clerk, or judge. That absolutely, positively disproves it. Also, in response to that. So it looks like they may actually be broke. I don't know. Sarah Fields, local reporter, in response to this said, the process is not automatic. To request court-appointed counsel, the defendant needs to demonstrate to the court they are in fact indigent, unable to afford legal representation. This typically involves completing and submitting a form detailing the individual's income, expenses, and property, Karmelo Anthony's. Now again, I'm saying that it's entirely possible that Karmelo Anthony does qualify as indigent because he is just a kid and he probably doesn't really have any personal assets. These forms may be obtained from the local county's website, the Texas Indigent Defense Commission's website, or directly from court. But the defense must request it, must submit the paperwork and for the approval process to begin. Yes, for now, Mike Howard is his defense as listed on his court docs. This will not stop him going forward from being assigned a taxpayer-funded attorney. Furthermore, because Karmelo Anthony was approved for indigent defense, it's likely he will not receive a salaried public defender, but instead a private attorney who volunteered or will be appointed and will be paid by the county using taxpayer funds. It could actually be Mike Howard. That's true. It could be him. He could get these funds on top of things. It's difficult to say. In places like Collin County, this kind of defense is common practice. Private attorneys can request payment either as a flat fee, hourly at $100 an hour in court, $75 out of court. Don't mess with me. You're messing with the wrong journalist who actually understands how this stuff works and does her research. Till next time, Dominique. Also, if it still isn't good enough for you, perhaps an email from Collin County Court about this process will also help you out here. Absolutely blowing out of the water the idea that Karmelo Anthony is, that this was automatic. It looks like either he is broke or they're lying and they're taking advantage of taxpayers. One of the two is true because this does not appear to be an automatic process. Keep it locked in here. Click the follow button, click the subscribe button, turn notifications on. I'll be following this case throughout. Obviously, we're going to have a lull here for the rest of summer. It seems like, maybe not, but you don't want to miss out. I also upload 4 to 5 other videos per day. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll talk to you again real soon.